The end of 2023 is finally upon us, which this year's gone way too fast. It is time to talk about my top 10 favorite horror movies of 2023. Now, this is the second year I've done this kind of list because last year was a historical year for horror movies, and so I had to do a top 10. I said, if you guys like this, I could do this yearly, and you guys and those views said big thumbs up, and so here I am again, which this is no issue for me because if you guys know me, horror is my favorite genre. I love horror movies. And so this year, I can say it was really hard to make a top 10 because last year there was just so many good movies. This year, I can say I'm taking a few risks with movies that I had to rewatch this past week because this past week I've rewatched a lot of movies to catch up on these best and worst lists. And so for horror movies, this is my opinion, so let me go ahead and make that very, very clear. This is my personal favorite. Your list might be very different, and I hope it is. I love seeing variety. Horror is so subjective. Some people might find scary movies so funny, and then someone else says that's the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's so subjective that honestly, when it comes to my list, as a big horror fan, I'm very picky. So we had some good movies this year, but we also had some bad ones because horror is going to have bad movies. But we're here to talk my top 10 favorite. And let me say this. I did not see every single horror movie this year. I did not watch every Netflix scary movie or streaming movie. There's so many Shudder movies that I did not watch. And there's just so many acclaimed ones that I just never got around to. So just know that going in, there are movies I just didn't get a chance to see because I see so many. All right, is the game all the way? Oh yeah, one more thing. There is one movie on this list that considered might not be horror, but listen, if that movie wasn't there, I would put Knock at the Cabin, M. Night Shyamalan's movie, in this list. I think I had it number 9 or 8 at one point, but I was like, you know what? This other movie, I won this list, and so now here we are. Anyways, that's all the wrap up. It's my opinion. Here's my list. Let's talk about it.
Here's Johnny.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates.
Expecto Patronum!
Starting off the list at number 10 is a movie that really, really grew on me. Now, I do not love this movie, but I really admire what was done on the filmmaking style and just the overall tone and theme of this movie. Skinamarink. I think a lot of you probably have already clicked off this video and said, yep, I'm not gonna like his list. Listen, Skinamarink is a movie that when I watched in theaters in the dark night of pitch black outside and going in this dark theater for an hour and 40 minutes, which was way too long, I will admit, this movie got under my skin, and then going home and rewatching it at 1 a.m. in the dark with no lights on was the perfect environment. And so this movie overall just really stuck with me. The vibe it goes for of children's trauma nightmares that it truly feels like when you're a little kid sitting in your room in the dark. This movie brings back those dark memories, and honestly, I love that for this movie. So I said, you know what? You deserve to be on this list. I'll put you at number 10. Now on to number 9, a movie that a lot of you saw and a lot of you love to death that we're getting a sequel, but hey, we have Megan or Mem-3gan or whatever you want to call it, but we're going to get more of these movies. I enjoyed this movie. This movie knows what it is and it does it at the best possibilities it can, and I had a fun time with it. This movie's not terrifying. It's not. It's honestly more fun than scary, but bringing back that doll factor, that original Chucky kind of vibes with AI with this movie is really clever, and honestly, Megan the character is probably iconic in the horror world now and is going to live on, and we're going to get sequels. I just cannot wait to see one day her be in space. In my 8th spot is a movie that I saw late, and everyone around me said, Jacob, you're a horror fan, you're a movie fan, you got to see this movie. Number 8 is Cobweb. This movie is the perfect Halloween movie. It is a perfect fall vibe, cold movie with a spooky story. I don't want to spoil a whole lot for this movie because not everyone has seen this movie, but I had my mom and dad watch this movie, and I told them, don't know anything. Don't watch the trailer, don't read anything, just watch this movie. It's 90 minutes, and they all really liked it. They didn't like the ending. Like, I agree, the ending did not stick the landing in my opinion, but this movie has such a great spooky vibe. It definitely is comparison to last year's Barbarian, which a lot of people already did. It's a movie that you watch the movie and you're like, oh, this is gonna happen. Nope. Subplot, this is actually this, and you're like, oh, and it's a spooky movie. It's really well directed, and the honest ending, like I said, is not my personal favorite, but I can recommend Cobweb highly, and I put it at number 8. Now on to number 7. Number 7 is a movie that I did watch for a second time, and I can say this, it almost dropped out of my list because on rewatch value, I didn't enjoy it as much as the first time. Let me go ahead and be that very clear. Number 7, though, I'm gonna stick with it, is Totally Killer. This is an Amazon Prime movie, and honestly, I highly recommend it. Out of all the movies that we've seen with, like, It's a Wonderful Knife, Happy Death Day, Freaky, this one might be my favorite, but I will say, again, on second rewatch this week, I didn't enjoy it as much. I do like the humor, I like the kills, I think they could have been pushed a little harder in the R-rated movie, but overall, the Back to the Future kind of vibe and going in that horror style is so creative that I feel like I had to put on this list because of how, like, imaginative it is, because I really enjoy this main actress. I enjoy all the characters in the movie. Yes, the killer is predictable in a way of, like, doesn't make sense, but you're like, this is easy. I still had fun with this movie. It's definitely got that Scream vibe with Back to the Future, and I had a good time. Okay, now coming number 6 is a movie that probably is, like, a lot higher for people, and I'm so glad people love this movie, but all of my friends hate me that I enjoyed this movie. But this is a definition of an 80s, 90s slasher presented in the 21st century, and that is Thanksgiving. Eli Roth, your writing is honestly dog crap with dialogue, honestly. But you brought us imaginative, bloody, fun, good-looking kills with a new horror icon in our Thanksgiving Killer, and we're getting a sequel, which is very exciting for the company, of the production company, and everyone, the writers, producers, all of those people, which is really exciting. But I will say, the writing is not good in this movie, and Eli Roth is known for that, but the movie is just so fun and so bloody. It's got that Scream vibe of who's the killer, and it's 90 minutes. You're in, it's like an hour and 45, I think. You're in and out. It's got a good pace to it. Like, seriously, this is a slasher at its finest, and honestly, people who hate this movie, I get it. I really do. But I had a really good time with a packed theater in this movie when I went to go see it for the first time. And honestly, I think I'm glad I put on this list. Now we're entering into the top 5. This is where it gets very interesting. A lot of people always say, what is your top 5 favorite? So this is the main question, 5 to 1. At one point, all of these movies were in contention for like 2, 3, 4, and 5. Number 1 felt very solidified, but going into number 5 here, I can tell you, for a 10th movie, damn, they're going strong. Saw X, yes, Saw X shocked everyone. This movie shouldn't have not been as good as it is, but guess what? Saw 10 is honestly the best Saw movie we've ever gotten. John Kramer's character and development in this movie has never been better, and I believe after this movie, if we get more, which I believe we are with Saw 11, John Kramer, please. I know what we did with him in Saw 3. No, we want more prequels. We want more John Kramer. Saw X proved that with awesome traps, a very well directed early 2000s Saw movie in this Saw movie. It's just a good Saw movie. Alright, some people are going to be a little upset that number 4 is number 4, but listen, I love this franchise. I love it so much, and for it to go this far into its 6th film, it's crazy that it's this still good. Scream 6. Man, oh man. Now, I like the 2022 Scream 5 more than this one. I will admit that. But this movie really amps the and just evilness of Ghostface and set it in New York, which felt so fresh with these brand new characters. And honestly, with all the news of Scream 7, it really is disappointing to hear what this franchise is doing right now. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Scream 6, and really, Scream 6 is awesome. There's awesome kills. I love the ending. I love the reveals. I love all that kind of stuff. I love the Scream franchise so much that none of the movies in the franchise I even would say are bad. But Scream 6 continues to push the boundaries of we're 6 movies in and we are still making really good Scream movies. Remember earlier when I said there's one movie on this list that a lot of you might not consider horror? It's my number 3, and let me just say this beforehand, I did a Twitter poll, and it did win not horror. But I'm telling you, this movie has more horror than the movie Nope from last year, which I argued wasn't a horror movie, but you know what? It is what it is. So number 3, yes, I put on this list, Beau is Afraid. A lot of you are saying that is not horror. That's fair. That's your opinion. I think Beau is Afraid is one of the most original, creative, different movies you could possibly have seen this year. And honestly, Joaquin Phoenix is going to get a lot of awards talk for Napoleon, which doesn't seem too high right now. But really, if you look at his performance in Beau is Afraid, I would say it's his best performance out of the two movies. He's so good in this movie. Ari Aster keeps proving himself to be an amazing horror director. It's no Hereditary. It's not even Midsummer to me, but Beau is Afraid is such a strong contender for the most original movie of the year, and I highly recommend it. And yeah, the horror elements, when they are there, I mean, there's not a lot of movies you're gonna see that big of a dick. All right, we're entering in number two. Number two is a movie I think a lot of my fans who've watched all my reviews this year, you knew this movie was coming. I watched this movie so much more this year, and every time I watch it, I still just love the thrill of it. Number two is Evil Dead Rise. Evil Dead, the Evil Dead, the original 1981 film, is one of my favorite movies of all time. This movie just proves to me that Evil Dead franchise can continue to grow and be different. Be set in an apartment building in this entire one setting in this hallway. It's just truly awesome stuff. I mean, the direction is so inspiring. The sound design, the gore, the creepy, amazing effects on this woman as our main evil antagonist is honestly classic looking. I forget the actress' name, but her performance in this movie is downright perfect. This movie is awesome. This movie is bloody. It's one of those horror movies that when people say, "Can I watch a good scary movie?" I always recommend this one. But my number one is I recommend a little more. And now we're down to number one. What is it? Now, when I look at this list, I kind of knew number one. Like, I looked at all the movies, I was like, that's number one. Because this is a movie, when I first saw it, I really liked it. I saw it again. I started to love it. Then I watched it at a friend's house, not even knowing I was going to see it. Just went to a friend's house, like, oh, we're gonna watch this movie. I was like, oh, that's a good one. And then I started writing a new script of mine that we're trying to make one day. And this movie had inspiration for me. And that's where it really started to hit me. This movie is inspiring to me. This movie is awesome. My number one favorite horror movie of 2023. It's Talk to Me. Talk to Me is awesome. I truly have not major gripes with this movie, especially as a horror fan, and especially from directors of YouTubers. That is so inspiring to me, and to know that a movie made by YouTubers can become what it is, and now truly A24 has a franchise. We have a prequel possibly coming, a sequel for sure coming, and this movie alone has set the boundaries of what this stage of this creepy hand can do as a story. It's truly just awe-inspiring, especially with all the background information on our characters, the gore that we do get in this movie, the scares are good in this movie. It might seem like a slow burn to some, but this ending leading up to this final act truly is awesome. I said in my review, this is one of my favorite endings of the year, especially as a horror fan. I love this ending. I love this movie. It's honestly becoming a classic to many. If you've not seen Talk to Me, huge recommend. And with all that being said, that is it. That is my top 10 favorite horror movies of 2023. Hopefully I didn't piss you off enough, but listen, I can't lie. There are some movies on this list that aren't like I'm in love with, but definitely like the top 3, 4, 5 are movies that like I've rewatched more than just twice. Some of these movies on this list I've only seen once or twice, but hey, I watched more than enough this week to get this list down to where I feel very comfortable with it, and hopefully you agree with me. If you disagree with me, that's fine. Like I said, I want to hear your list. I want to hear all down below. Did I leave something out? Is there movies out there that I just didn't see? I know I did not see When Evil Lurks. I'm sorry. But hey, I hope you guys enjoy this list, and do not forget, after some more movie reviews this month, towards the end of the month, expect my top 10 best and top 10 worst. Very excited for those, as always. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, everybody!